This is Off Track.
Hello and welcome to an episode of Off Track with Hinch and Rossi that's just Hinch and Rossi.
Yes!
Finally, bro.
What the people have always wanted and have asked for, no Tim.
And what, honestly, we wanted.
Look, there was a time when we started this. It was necessary. It was necessary to have him on board.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to, hit record on a program.
Bro, you know how
And now,
there's, in history, there's those really valuable lost files. Like this episode, our podcast one day might be so important to kids, and this could be the end of it, and this episode may never air. And think of all of the information that we discuss that we unfortunately can't air for 33 minutes prior to this. Imagine what those kids in 2090, when they're studying sports broadcasting history and they find this archive on a hard drive.
That would be it will have either predicted the solution to or complete fall of something that we love very much.
Yes.
and we'll leave it at that. But yeah, that would be a funny thing to stumble across, 50 years from now. Oh man. Actually, let's make it longer than that. Let's make it 100 years so that we're gone and don't have to answer
liable
to anything. There's no repercussions for what we've discussed up to this point.
Cool.
Oh man. Yeah. Yes,
so
good call.
You're in Mexico. Let's get right into your last weekend. So Formula E returns to North America. Back in Austin. It looked packed, which is,
as always,
must be nice. And how was it? Hot?
So it was hot. It was definitely hot. I think it was the hottest race they've had there, which is saying something for Austin. Yeah. Talked about the packedness. I don't know what changed from years past, because I've done that race a couple times now, and it was my 4th anniversary. That was my it was 4 years ago. I had my first F1 race there. No, nobody. I didn't tell anybody. Nobody cared. It's irrelevant. But for the last 3 years, look, it's not the easiest place to get out of. The parking lots get kind of packed when you leave, and there's only kind of 2 directions you can leave the track from out of the same road. But, once you're moving, it's not too bad. The traffic, both getting in, which was new, and getting out was exponentially worse. I don't know how, there was not that many more people, if any more people than last year. But they did something different and incorrectly with that. And it led to one morning in the whoever decides who directs traffic's defense, we being the group of people in my car, so me and Laura and Palmer and Jakesy, were given the wrong parking pass. And so there were certain places
F1's not known to be sticklers about passes, though.
Don't even get me started on that. That led to some very colorful conversation in the car ride on the way in. But it was more that there were certain places where the cops had blocked off roads and weren't redirecting traffic unless you had a certain parking pass, because then they would let you through to go to, and we were getting close to being at risk of not being on site in time for first practice.
Oh.
And so we pulled up to one of these, the first blockade, and we were like, hey man, we work for F1 TV. We're on air in a very short amount of time. We were given the wrong parking pass. We need to go this way. And the guy kind of was like, you work for F1 TV? We work for F1, we're on TV, but we're super late. We got the wrong pass, whatever. And he's like, okay. So okay, sweet, we're in. But we go through, and then there's a road with no cars on it, and we blast, we're making up time, blasting on this road. Then we come to a stop, it's another intersection, and there's another cop. And they're like, oh, you have the wrong pass. I'm like, yeah, no, sorry. We just explained to your colleague there and did the whole story again. And they were like, yeah, but you have the wrong pass. I'm like, yeah, but I can't be here unless he thought it was okay that I'm here. So can we agree that I didn't just run past him? You didn't get a radio call saying, look out for a, blue rental car. So I had to work our way through that one, got through that one. Then we come up to the third blockade where we need to turn a direction that they're not even like, that's not even part of the pass program. And now this guy, I had talked to this guy. I think he actually watches F1 TV because he seemed to clock who we were in the car immediately. And I'm like, we need to go left. He goes, okay. And he had to like stop traffic in both directions and let us turn left. Had we not been able to talk our way through that, which again, understandably, dealing with like cops directing traffic in a big event like that, they're not often open to making concessions for people who claim they have the wrong parking pass. We got very lucky. Dude, we might still be on our way to the track. It was very tense. Anyway, that part aside, Austin's just a great one, as you know, and it's obviously quite different now from when you were racing there, because like,
there's people.
There's a lot of people. It's like people are excited about racing.
Yeah, I never had any sort of issue getting into or out of the track.
Right.
At Austin.
Yeah. I would have loved you to have been on the grid at this time, because there's a lot of people there and a big old American flag in turn one, and it's pretty cool, man. It is.
That's
when the whole
that's nice.
Like turn one berm is just shoulder to shoulder people. There's big. I'm not gonna. Wait, he's got a lot of time to this one. Big off American flag hanging up at the top of turn one. Keep rubbing it
in, man. Just keep
blowing in the wind. Yep. You know what they did though? You know what they did? They had like Black Hawk helicopters do the flyover. And I was like, that is such a ripoff of the 500 this year.
Which was ripped off the Daytona 500.
From like 30 years ago. We let it breathe, you know?
Yeah, but like, you can't, that's stones at glass houses.
Fine,
dude.
Alex.
Listen.
You're right. That's true. I kind of forgot that's where it came from.
And also like, that's still just badass. Like that's the most American. Like cool. For big U.S. events, Black Hawk helicopters should be everything that we do leading up to. Yes, that should be the standard.
Should be mandatory. Yeah.
All right.
But the event's awesome. It gets blown up. Like all the teams do.
Did you get on the new roller coaster? Because they're now trying to be Abu Dhabi. Oh. Yeah,
it's weird. There's like 3 roller coasters on the property now.
I didn't even know about it until I was on Instagram and I saw someone on
Mario?
it, and I was like, no, I saw what driver went on it. Was it Charles?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Anyways.
I didn't see it. Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second. This is in Austin? That's like Ferrari World, which is, again, did you see the renderings for the building they're going to put at the top of the hill?
I sure did, Alex. That looks pretty neat.
Here's a little fun fact that I'll tell you about. There was a period of time in 2013, 14, and 15 where my dad and I were working with Bobby Epstein, I think was his name.
Epstein, yeah.
Is he still involved at COTA?
Yep.
Like owns it, runs it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That place was about to disappear because no one was going and they couldn't justify the sanction fee and hosting F1, and it just wasn't making sense. And so he commissioned us, being the American representation, to go out there and try and find investors and supporters. Now they have 3 roller coasters and are building a sick and suite at the top of the hill in turn 1.
And have a race until 2031, 2034, something like that. Some
changes have timed.
Yes, how the turns have tabled. Yeah, crazy, man. Crazy.
Anyways, whatever. Good for them. Let's talk about the race.
Good for them.
Well,
it was a sprint weekend. It's so...
Qualifying one.
Qualifying one, obviously... Max was on pole, but
that's not obvious because Lando led practice and then he led Q1, Q2.
And his theoreticals were good enough for pole in Q3.
But what happened?
Max happened. Max maxed, this is what's so interesting, man. Cause like he's obviously been on this run, right? He won in Monza. He won in Baku.
Isn't it? He scored like 176 out of 190 available points.
119 out of 133 or something available.
I don't know where my numbers came from, but yes. Okay.
But yeah, the concept is right. An insane percentage. Since the summer break, I guess, he's finished second, first, second, first in a sprint, and first.
Is that good?
It's not all. It's like how Pelot normally finishes first, second, first.
Yeah.
So kind of Pelot-esque. And you could, like, Monza's kind of a unique place, obviously, right? Baku's kind of a unique place. Singapore has never really been a strong Red Bull track, and he didn't win there, but neither did McLaren. He still beat McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a McLaren has not beat him in 4 full weekends. Right? They beat him in Zandvoort. He came second, but since then they have not finished ahead of him. But then we got to Colton, and it's like, okay, this is a proper track. This is a proper road course. We're not on straight circuits. We're not on a weird, like, this one's got a bit of everything.
Like, tire deck's going to be a
hot.
thing.
They should really play in the
McLaren is like, yes, should be the here. Yeah.
And yeah, the thing about it is that's just not exactly what happened. So what that's proven is that whatever they've done to this Red Bull in the last 6 weeks has made it a genuine contender at all tracks now. Like, it's...
But hilariously, the second car is no different.
Yeah, I mean, when he was on pole in the sprint, Yuki was 18th in the sprint, but he ran out of time or something. He didn't get his second lap. There was a lot of that weird dicking around trying to get laps.
Don't worry, we're going to get to not getting your second lap here in a second.
Yeah. So Lando wasn't able to get it done. He was second. Oscar was third, I guess. And Hulkenberg was fourth. How about that?
Yes.
Hulkenberg was quick in practice.
And like P5 in practice 1, so it wasn't like some like condition change, like there was no rain involved. Like, he was legitimately in contention. And if Max wins the championship, not saying that anything about this incident is Nico's fault, but like, Nico probably should get dinner bought for him by Max.
Okay, so let's get to turn 1 then.
Yeah.
How did you see the turn 1?
I saw turn 1 as a complete racing incident. It was nobody's fault. It wasn't Oscar's fault. It wasn't Nico's fault. It's a tight corner and it's super wide on entry and 2 cars, 1 spot sort of thing, which, hilariously, and I don't mean any ill will towards Lando, because I love Lando and I love everything that he's doing, but like, hilariously, Oscar's little run-in with Nico pitched him so high in the air, it like hit Lando and ripped his right front off. Meanwhile, Max is like already 5 seconds up the road. And the worst case scenario for McLaren, other than it being the actual race, kind of happened. And it's like, man, you start to add these things up, right? You start to add Lando's failure in Zandvoort. You start to add the whole pit stop positioned kerfuffle in Monza. You add Oscar's issues in Baku. Then that at the sprint, it's like, you'd be really hard pressed in McLaren to start thinking, is this not meant to be? Like, are we actually in trouble of giving this thing up to Max at this point? Because he's coming.
It's got some 2007 vibes in a big way, when Alonso and Hamilton were just hammering each other, taking points off one another, and
here comes Kimi. Yeah,
calmly won 3 of the last 4 races of the championship by a point.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it's like, so. But here's the thing: like, I think back to him being 104 points behind after the break.
What is he now? 40.
40. He's taken 64 points. Sorry, not after break, after Zandvoort. So in 4 weekends, he's taken 64 points. He's 40 back, and there's 5 weekends left.
And he is very good in Mexico. He's very good in Brazil.
Very good in Brazil. Qatar is going to be the tough one because, like, on paper, that's the one that should just suit the McLaren so well. Yes. But in all those races, right, you can see things that didn't go particularly perfectly for McLaren. Like, Monza was relatively clean. The stop thing doesn't really affect the outcome as far as Max, right? So that one, he just beat them. Baku, they were quick in Baku. They just hosed it in Q3. And then, obviously, Oscar had his issue in the race. Lando couldn't really make up a lot of stuff. They didn't have great race pace. Singapore, Lando was way faster than Max at the end of that race, but you just can't pass at Singapore, right? So they just didn't get their qualifying right in Singapore. Here, they were quick in practice, qualified second and third for the sprint. By not doing a single lap in the sprint, they have no data for the race pace. And because it's parked for May, you got to set your car up for qualifying and leave it for the race. So they probably had to be conservative for Grand Prix qualifying, which might explain why they were second and sixth, right? Maybe that's part of that. So every weekend there's been something you can kind of point to that's put them on the back foot, even just a little bit.
But you can't, you have no idea what's gone on at Red Bull that's put them on a back foot. You can't say it's just been 6 perfect weekends in and out.
No, fine. They've if there's been issues, they have executed and got around it. What I'm saying is, in the next 5 races, right, for a team that has been operating at the level McLaren has, the thought of them not having at least one just trouble-free weekend from here on out, where they could just beat Max, and if they beat him once, it's kind of over, short of some weird bad luck thing where they get taken out in the rain in Brazil or, some weird thing. So if they just have one more solid weekend as a team, I think it kind of removes Max, I think.
So here's the interesting question that every sports person, I'm thinking a lot to golf, right? Where, golf is a 3-day event and, you've got guys that shoot lights out on day 1. And then day 2, they're still good, but like they gave up 4 or 5 strokes. And then day 3, like the guy that's coming, he's playing with like reckless abandon, right? He's taking big risks. He's taking the chances because like what does he have to lose? Nothing.
Right.
Whereas the guy is leading, he can't bone it up. Like he can't make a mistake. He can't, double bogey a hole, that sort of thing. Like McLaren is in this position where it's like they know they still probably have the better equipment, right? They've got 2 cars against 1. They've got more than competent and capable drivers of winning a World Drivers' Championship. 2 of them. But they know they can't screw up. Whereas if Max and Red Bull screws up, whatever. They gave it a good shot.
They were never supposed to win it.
It wasn't their year. They've won 4 out of the last 5. We'll try again next year, sort of thing. That's a very difficult position to be in. You'd almost rather be just 5 points behind or ahead and just going at each other every single weekend. Like having this lead is a blessing, but it's also like it could be a downfall. It'll be very interesting to see how it goes.
It cranks the pressure on in a big way, right? And I was having this conversation with someone. Max is driving completely free because there's no pressure on him, right? He just has to drive and win. And like if he wins, he's in it. But if we get to Abu Dhabi and maybe there's some pressure, but he's also Max Verstappen. He's been here before. He's been through that pressure and he eats it up. He's fine. The other 2, it's their first time doing it. And now they've got this guy breathing down their neck that they had enough internal bullshit to worry about. Mm-hmm. Now they've also got this external pressure in the form of like the best driver of whoever, maybe of all time, right? Mm-hmm. So it is super fascinating from a sporting standpoint to like watch the psychology of it all. And like you can see like Zach Brown and Andrea Stella, they looked tense this weekend compared to what you've seen them. And it's man, is it interesting to watch. And here's the thing. For me, there's no bad outcome.
No.
As a fan of this sport and on someone who works in it, I'll put that aside. Just as a fan of the sport, there's no bad outcome. Because either you have a first-time champion, and that's just awesome to see. And you love to see guys.
With 2 likable guys, right? Like
2 guys that you can cheer for. I respect them both to an incredibly high level. And on the other hand, you've got history being made. You've got the biggest comeback in F1 history, the first guy since Schumacher to win 5 titles in a row. Maybe the only guy other than Schumacher to win 5 titles in a row on a year where he should not have done it, right? Like if it happens, it will be one of the you can say I was there when, and I love those moments in sports history. But at the same time, if that one happens, dude, I will probably shed a tear. I'll shed 1 tear out of each eye for Lando and Oscar, respectively, because it would just hurt so I cannot even comprehend the pain that those 2 would be in. Because
you would have to be like, that's on me, wouldn't you?
I'm sure you'd go through all the emotions. I'm sure you'd go through like what could the team's done better? What could I have done better?
Do you not think that the McLaren is still has a leg up?
I do think it is slightly better.
Okay.
I do think the Red Bull has closed that gap tremendously.
Right.
But I do think there's a slight performance edge.
Max just put 2.5 tenths to Lando.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get to that, right? Let's get to the sprint race happens. Bad luck for McLaren. No fault of their own. Sucks. Max runs away with it. No problem. We get to real qualifying, right? And Max is obviously, and Red Bull have had a lot of data from the sprint. They know exactly what they can get away with, all this sort of thing. So he leads round 1, round 2. And we get into round 3. and he puts up a lap that's like half a second clear of everyone else, right, on his first set of tires. And either Red Bull or him or a combination kind of mistimed when they went out for their final set. Like everyone tries to leave it to the last second so you get the most track evolution and all this sort of thing, right? But you're kind of dictated, obviously, by the cars in front and what they're doing with prep laps and this sort of thing. So the way it worked out is Max was like 4 seconds short of coming to the line to start his second lap or his second attempt on a second set of tires, right? His first attempt on a second set of tires. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, there's a little bit more time to come in that final attempt.
Track evolution. And-
right. You've cleaned up a few more things. And sure enough, Lando, Charles, whoever else, they found a chunk of time. Max never got that opportunity. Yet he still had 2.5 tenths in hand over Lando. So you're saying and agreeing, and I agree with you, that the McLaren's probably slightly better. Yet Max is somehow still finding, call it 2.5 to 3.5 tenths just in him.
The only thing I can think of that contributes to the size of that gap is what I was saying before, that I think the McLaren maybe had to compromise on setup a little bit.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yeah.
But the thing is, he's still just Max. This is what his superpower is it's getting 100% out of whatever he's driving at all times. And if they lose this championship, if either McLaren driver does not win, I almost feel like you have to just accept the fact that
he's unbeatable.
You're sitting, you need an unfair car advantage to beat Max Verstappen over 24 races. I think you just might have to accept that, like, yeah, I was the wrong year to have a good car because his car was just good enough and he's that much better. And I say that much better. That much better is a infinitesimally small percentage amount, but right. In the scheme of what you're doing, yes. It translates to unbeatable pace. And it's wild, man. It's wild to watch. Even Max was like, you'd be an idiot.
I thought I would never see anything like it after watching what Lewis did for the better part of a decade. I never thought I'd see it again. And I remember talking about it in leading up to Abu Dhabi in 2020? 21. And we were like, because people were getting tired of the Mercedes and Lewis show. And it was like, guys, just like Tom Brady, like accept the fact that you're witnessing something you're never going to see again. Little did we know that we were going to see the exact same thing, if not more.
He just literally passed the baton to the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, it's awesome. So I have no idea what the next 5 races hold. Lando at least got around Charles, so he finished second. Oscar moved up from 6th to 5th. So I won't say damage limitation because that's not as big of a jump as I'm sure he was hoping. But the other thing that's interesting and kind of came out of this was the race was dull.
Super boring. Like, I'll be honest. Dull. I watched 10 laps and then I watched the last 5 laps to make sure I didn't miss anything that I would need to talk about on this show. And I didn't.
All you missed was Lando getting back around Charles, was basically getting that done. But here's it. So like these cars have gotten so hard to follow in now. I think this was 5 or 6 pole sitters in a row that have won, which that's not what it's been like since this ground effects car came out in 22. Like the racing's been good, but they're just so developed now. Everybody's so close now. They literally add bits to the car to make the air behind them worse. It's not even to make their car better. It's to make the cars following worse.
I didn't know that I knew that. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind
crazy.
Of awesome. Yeah.
It's crazy. And so, I was lamenting this rules change because I'm like, we've got such good racing. We got a lot of cars that are up there. It's all super close, but it's like the racing's it's super close, but the racing's kind of taking a big step back. So maybe a big shakeup is what we need. I just hope that one person's not dominating everything because of it. But
so question. When you say like things have gotten so developed, right? And things are the margins now of difference that a team can make are so small because there's only so much you can do with a rules package.
Right.
Would you say it's kind of the same thing if you go spec racing, right? Like there's only so much difference that can be made. So even though in theory, right, you would think the competition is better because everyone has the same and it's the driver that's going to make a difference. But also at this level, all the drivers are pretty good, right? Yes, there's A+, A, B, and B- drivers, but everyone's pretty above average.
Right.
So there's not going to be a driver that goes out there and makes a 4/10 to half a second difference. So in a way, is a car that's been completely developed or a car that is completely spec actually not the solution for competitive racing?
That's a great question, Alex. It's a great point. And yeah, because like, we talk on the IndyCar side about how one of the big differences between Honda and Chevy is drivability, right? Like that's not a secret. We've talked about it on here. It's talked about on broadcast. Drivers talk about it all the time. And so that at certain tracks, there's going to be an advantage to one versus the other. And that helps mix up results. Or, yeah, it does. It adds that little bit of a differentiator. And
or a team like goes down a development path that's wrong, but then they right the ship. So for 2 or 3 weekends, they struggle, but then they unlock something and then they're back and maybe not go 1 or 2 spots higher and knock a team down, right? Because there's always this chase of like, oh, we can find a way to solve the puzzle and make it better. Mm. But if the puzzle's solved for you, you would argue that it's going to be even more follow the leader based on qualifying. Because if everyone has the exact same and all the drivers can get 99.3 to 100% out of the car, the guy that starts on pole, odds are, unless something tragic happens, he's just going to manage the gap and win the race.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to have a deficit in a certain corner or over tire life because his engine is harder on tires, but he's got more power and that sort of thing. Like it won't exist. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Like, it is something to think about. It really is. And the other thing I wonder if part of the reason the racing's suffering more now is all the cars are pretty static in the sense of development. For that, kind of to your point, because everyone's put all their attention towards 26, nobody's bringing any upgrades, so everyone's just staying where they are. And so you're not getting a guy that's got a new front wing this week, so he's now up here and it's bouncing around, and now this guy's got to make a new wing to catch up, and it goes badly. He actually falls down because the sim didn't correlate, and all that stuff is sort of gone now.
Development, it's good for racing. It's good for the show.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're onto something there, pal.
Anyways, enough F1. We are IndyCar predominantly podcasting guys. So I got to drive an IndyCar around IMS today.
Hercules.
I mean, it's the best place to drive an IndyCar.
It's just cool, man.
Despite all of our complaints about IndyCars and Lockheed Hughes and being like, oh, it wasn't as much of a wow factor compared to an Indy Lights car as I thought. When you get into an IndyCar at IMS, there's a wow factor. Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
Factor 10.
It's always wild to like do your first 3 laps, right? Because your mind and eyes and everything aren't used to it, and like you need to be flat, and you are flat, but it's hard work, even though you're doing like 217s. Whereas, you're obviously qualifying above 230. Like it feels freaking fast. And it's rare these days after driving race cars for so long that race cars feel fast. And it's always cool to go to IMS and it's like, damn, these things haul ass. So anyways, we are doing, we being myself and Takuma Sato for RLL are doing some parts evaluations for 2028.
Okay.
So it's not really a test for us. Like we kind of got the one run to make adjustments, front wing angle, ride height, whatever. But then it's kind of keep it as it is and kind of follow this run plan given to you by IndyCar. So it's not a lot of learning for us, but still nice to get the opportunity to be on track. The other 2 cars were the 10 car and Pato, who are doing some tire testing for Firestone, which seemed to be very positive. and so positive that I will get a chance to try them. Me and Takuma will get a chance to try them tomorrow.
Amazing.
Well, let's talk about
what are they trying to solve with the tire? Exactly.
Well, I was not involved in the tire test, so I don't know. But what I can tell you, the results of the development tire, let's call it, was no vibrations and negative deg. So I actually think that's quite interesting because on a lot of tracks, oval specifically, you would argue that deg is good. Like deg makes the racing better, which is the case at your Milwaukees, at your old Iowas, that sort of thing, when there's 2 lanes.
Nashville.
Right. Deg IMS, which is super single lane, is not a good thing because all that means is everyone starts lifting and following in line. You can't get close to the car in front of you. So negative deg at IMS is actually incredible for the potential show.
Because when you think about after a restart, when there's been pit stops, everyone's on new tires. You've got a lot of grip. And so everyone's mixing it up. And then
going for it.
10, 12 laps in, your tires start to wear. Everybody kind of spreads out. And
215 plus, you're not taking huge gambles at snaps with tire deg and that sort of thing. So obviously, it was a 55-degree day. So a lot of caveats still that I'm sure Firestone's going to look at. So if that tire doesn't show up in May, I'm sure they have their reasons, but regardless, they're looking at ways to continue to improve the show, which is awesome. And then on our side, we are testing 2 components. One is new brake calibers. And I'm not going to get into the details of what those are because I don't know if that's public yet, but essentially there's been a problem, not a problem. There's been a situation at Indy for the past, ever since I've been there. So I would imagine forever, really, where brake drag is a bad thing because brake drag is what it sounds like. The pads are rubbing on the rotors and that slows you down. And when you're dealing with thousandths of a second, you need to find everything that you can to try and make the cars go quicker. So teams were getting very creative with ways to make the pads pull back from the rotors so you don't have any drag as you're rolling around the track, which is all fine and well, but it starts to cause some issues as early as qualifying because there are rules about what you can and cannot do. Teams obviously try and take those rules to the limit. But where you started to see a big issue was if the car was coming from the garage, let's say, there was ways to make the pads be pretty far back from the rotors. But if you had to go do another run on pit lane, right? Like you're trying to bump your way into the Fast 12, sorry. Or you were trying to bump your way into the race, you were never going to quite go as quick as you did coming out of the garage for a number of reasons. Some would be engine heat, gearbox temps, that sort of thing. But the other thing was brake drag, right? Because you obviously have to hit the brake pedal when you come into pit lane. And so that's pushing the pads against the rotor. So when you leave pit lane again, without the whole system being reset, it was very hard to go out and duplicate a run. But then the other bigger problem was that, yes, while this is very much a qualifying thing, teams would try and find a way to kind of not have it be that extreme as they do in qualifying, but still be pretty aggressive in pulling the pads back from the rotors, which is an issue when you have to pit. You're pitting off a 4 at 210 miles an hour. You're trying to get the thing slowed down. You haven't touched the brake pedal all stint. The pedal's long. You're trying to pump the pads up to the rotors. You're trying to get temp in, all this sort of thing. And we were starting to see some issues. So what IndyCar has looked at and kind of correctly, in my opinion, deduced is if we come up with a brake system that doesn't have any brake drag, then people won't need to mess with the brake system and the brake pedal will be consistent throughout an entire 500-mile race. And through all your qualifying runs and that sort of thing. It will be easy to police, and it'll just take that variable off the table. So that was a huge success because all 3 of the new products didn't have any brake drag, and the pedal was consistent. So A+.
It's the dream.
The other thing that we are testing that it got rained out today is a spec damper. And the spec damper, we don't have a lot of information on it. It is something that if it were to come, it would come in 2028 with the new car. But obviously, one of the huge things about IndyCar is it's like the dampers are open. Like there's a lot of ingenuity and there's a lot of
it's kind of the one thing that is open for the teams to develop, right?
There's a lot of brain trust. There's a lot of IP. There's a lot of money spent on teams' damper programs. You see that in full effect on street courses with what Andretti does. You see that on full effect kind of everywhere with Ganassi. And so it is something that, I don't know, it brings up an interesting situation because on one hand, it would save teams a substantial amount of money from a R&D side of things. But on the other hand, it takes away one of the major levers, if not the only lever, that teams have to differentiate themselves. And ironically, we were talking about that in this past conversation at Austin in terms of like when cars reach a static development place, maybe it doesn't actually make the racing better. So anyways, who knows what these dampers are going to be like because we didn't get to run them today. They might be great. They might be terrible. That'll be for next week.
Interesting. Yeah, that's it's a tough one, right? Because obviously saving money is a good thing, but racing is about development and ingenuity, and the teams are already a little bit hampered, a little bit constricted or restricted, I should say, on what they can do. I when you talk to engineers, one of the things they love about going racing is being able to create something, right? Being able to think outside the box and develop something new. And, as the years have gone on and the formula for Indy cars has changed and kind of gone more towards more spec parts, there's less of that happening. Dampers is kind of the one area that engineers can still get really excited about, and they can still be creative and they can still kind of flex that muscle, which most race engineers want to do. So it'd be a shame to lose that.
And like you would also lose the storyline of the FBI getting involved in IndyCar racing.
I don't know if we ever even covered that whole thing, but just Google it. You could Google that if you really feel like. Yeah. But yes, that takes away some of the off-track drama as well.
Sure.
Okay. Well, so you're back in the car tomorrow.
Yes.
What are your weekend plans? Oh wait, no, sorry, because we only have a few minutes left. Officially announced Colton's team in F2, so that's cool.
They did.
Be part of the management program over there now?
It's funny. It's so funny, right? Because like, I look back to that incredible day of interviews that we had with Colton, with Dan, with Will, that they all so graciously came on our show to talk about this big news. And like, there was like, no one was saying that Colton was going F2 racing, but everyone was saying that Colton was going to go F2 racing. And it's like, so can we talk about Colton going F2 racing or not? And it was like, no, but he is. Yeah. Okay.
I think he even said it too, right? Yes. So like, I think Dan even said it. I think everybody sort of said it.
So not a surprise that happened.
We didn't know the team until today.
Right. I've not followed F2 enough to know anything about High Tech. I know High Tech has been around for forever. I drove for High Tech in Formula Master, which is the championship that GP3 ended up becoming.
Right.
And some awesome people there. I drove for them. No, that was Fortec. So anyways, great group of guys. One of the legacy landmark European junior Formula teams. I think I'm so excited to pay attention to F2 now because Colton's in it.
Dude, I was joking with some of the guys we were flying here today. I was like, the first F2 race of the season next year,
it's going to be your highest TV numbers.
Most watched F2 race in history. by a landslide. You could have an entire continent paying attention that traditionally doesn't really care.
I'm gonna watch every session.
And I was talking to these guys about how we like told Colton, like, look, man, we know, and we've discussed this, you know, his results in F2 are not necessarily what he's being judged on for a potential Formula One seat, right? He's there to learn tracks, learn tires, learn cadence of a weekend, all these things. But he's going to be judged on his performance in the F1 car and TPC testing and FP1s and simulator work and whatever. I was like, but your own program aside, bro, the weight of an entire motorsport series and industry that surrounds it is on your shoulder. I don't care about your personal goals at this point. You have to do well for us, man. We are all going to be watching. We are all going to be cheering. And all of our collective self-worth is now attached to how you perform.
Well, and all of our collective internet self-worth given to us by the old faithful on Twitter is dependent on Colton's success. Because I tell you what, every single IndyCar driver is going to get lit up the first bad weekend Colton has, which is bound to happen.
Yeah, well, of course. Look, I expect the first one to not go super well. The way that he's going to have to learn is he'll get 5 hot laps. He'll get 5 hot laps around Albert Park. Do they run Australia?
I don't know anymore, dude. I never did, but I think Bahrain's their first.
Okay, all right.
Which is where the winter testing will be. So he'll be all right there.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
When he goes to Singapore or Baku, he's hosed.
So hard.
Or like
he'll get 5 laps in practice before qualifying.
With all those blind, like hosed.
Dude.
Yeah, no chance. I don't think I could do that after 4 days of testing.
We'll see. We'll see what he's got. Again, we love him and we're gonna cheer for him either way. Just kidding, pal. There's no pressure. Just do what you got to do.
If you suck, lose my info.
I swear to God, I will.
Yeah. I'll come to Vegas and beat your scrawny ass.
I will.
I'll piss in your pool.
It's aggressive. I like it. Oh God. All right. Well, what are you up to this weekend after your days in the IndyCar?
I've got another weekend at home, man. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Beauty.
I'm gonna continue learning how to be a dad, and I'm going to hopefully Max just take it to the max.
Sweep them.
And very big FP1 coming up for our boy Pato, our Kit Kat,
that's right.
beloved superhero. So he's in the car for McLaren, FP1 Mexico City. So everyone who wouldn't usually watch FP1, go watch that because it'll be cool to watch him drive around there, his home race.
You should watch it on F1 TV. That'd be a good thing to do.
I'll watch it on
talk about the
Ocho.
On the Ocho? Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, pal.
Why would I watch F1 TV when I pay for it?
Yeah, I mean, well, Tim will watch it because you pay for it. At least that's good. All right. Well, we'll recap day 2 of IndyCar testing at the Speedway and Mexico, and we should probably check in on NASCAR because I think they're getting pretty close to the end of that. I know Chase Briscoe locked himself into the 4 in Talladega. I didn't get to see much else of that race. Kind of busy. But yeah, we'll check in on that, and then next week we'll definitely try to cover Nashville.
Can't wait.
Right. Thanks for listening. This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.